Happy ninth day of Christmas and Happy New Year to you. Unfortunately, we have a little bit of intense news that we need to cover. The siege of the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad is calming down, but guess who one of the leaders of the siege was, and guess who he met with? Welcome to the broadcast, friend. First, I want to deal with what is happening in Iraq. And there are several elements to this that we need to discuss. First of all, President Trump has gone out of his way to make it clear to Iran and to Baghdad that we are not going to let another Benghazi happen. In fact, one of his tweets was, "This is the anti-Benghazi." So, as you remember, Benghazi is the city inside of Libya where Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama sat by and did nothing while our embassy was under attack, which resulted in some of our employees being killed, as well as our ambassador. And of course, that was a horrific moment in American diplomatic history, and a shame and a disgrace and a blot on Obama and Hillary. But I digress. President Trump immediately deployed 100 Marines to shore up the Marines that were present in Baghdad at our embassy. And even as we speak, there are another 650 to 750 paratroopers that are on their way to the embassy. The ambassador was away on business. He had not been evacuated. He was away, and he, probably by the time this is aired, is back at the compound. So this is President Trump throwing down and saying, we're not leaving. This is American soil. You breached our gate. You came on American soil. Fortunately, no Americans were killed, and it also appears, due to the restraint of our Marines, that no Iraqis or Iranians were killed. Now, for quick background, Iraq and Iran border each other. Iran is the largest nation of Shiite Muslims, formerly known as Persia. Iraq has a large minority of Shiite Muslims, and they hate America. They also hate Sunnis, but that's another matter. They are, many of them, like Hezbollah, they're a terrorist group. Hezbollah has been designated a terrorist group. Hezbollah is a Shiite Muslim terrorist group. Hezbollah was involved in firing a rocket into a construction area where an American was killed a couple of weeks ago. And this past Sunday, President Trump ordered a bombing of a Hezbollah site, and some 25 militants were taken out, were killed. This is why the walls at the U.S. Embassy were breached. President Trump has tweeted that Iran will pay. He said this is not a warning, it's a threat. The Ayatollah in charge of Iran has responded saying, and quote, "America can't do a damn thing," close quote. So the war of words is escalating, and we will see what the American military response will be. I promise you there is a half a dozen to a dozen options that are on the table in front of the president right now. So he is going to want to appear strong, yet judicious. And after the bombings of oil tankers a few months ago, people thought that the president was going to take out a number of military targets inside of Iran. And at the last minute, he called it off because he felt that the loss of life on the Iranian side would not be commensurate for the damage that they had done to oil tankers. This is a little bit different. Those weren't our oil tankers. This was U.S. soil. So we had people on U.S. soil saying that they were going to kill every employee in that compound if they could break through the buildings. Now, let's take a sudden left-hand turn. One of the leaders outside of the compound was Hadi al-Amiri. This man. Now, here's a photo of this man. Guess where? The White House. He came in 2011 with the then Prime Minister of Iraq. He came to the White House. Now, at that time, there were law enforcement people, there were people in the State Department, people in the FBI who were enraged that he was in the White House. This is a man with a known terror background. So the first thing that we have to say is that Obama was a wretched president and was clearly, if not a Muslim, if he's not a Muslim, which he might be, but if he was not a Muslim, he was a Muslim sympathizer. Now, I have looked and looked ad nauseum, and the only things that I've been able to find seem to indicate that Obama was raised as a Shiite Muslim. If that is true, it would explain why he gave so much money, millions and millions of dollars in cold, hard cash to the Iranians, who are Shiites, why he was so easy on Iran, and why he would have a terrorist who's a Shiite in the White House. Now, put the picture up. All right, so this picture is Muqtada al-Sadr and Hadi al-Mahri. Muqtada al-Sadr was in open battle with our soldiers. He is a terrorist. So fast forward to the past few days, Hadi al-Amiri, the man who was in the White House, was one of the leaders on the ground at the embassy. This is tantamount to when the Japanese delegation was meeting in the White House just moments before the attack on Pearl Harbor. This is like Ribbentrop, the German ambassador to England, meeting with the Prime Minister of England, Neville Chamberlain, knowing full well that there was going to be an attack on Poland by the Nazis. This is idiocy and treachery on steroids. And this is the type of leadership that we used to have, and this is why the left wing, the godless enemies of freedom, the Muslim sympathizers, the child killers, just make the list, the people who want to steal your guns. This is why they hate President Trump, because he doesn't take crap from these people. And listen, I am predicting, all right? It's Thursday, January 2nd. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm telling you, something is going to happen. They are discussing right now who's going to be bombed or who's going to be killed or what facility is going to be destroyed. Something is going to happen. Because President Trump wants to send a message, and he wants to defend American interests, and he wants to vindicate American sovereignty and the ownership of the embassy. Remember, that's American soil. So we will keep you posted on what happens, but you and I have got to know that we are going to be in for some tumultuous days in the Middle East. And the truth of the matter is that these people do, in fact, hate us. They do hate us. Remember, there's over 5,200 American troops on the ground in Iraq right now that are there to train Iraqi soldiers on how to fight and to keep ISIS from coming back. So even though we have technically withdrawn from Iraq, we still have soldiers there. And American lives are daily at risk in Iraq and Afghanistan. And President Trump, as he has said, he is the anti-Benghazi. He is not going to sit by and let our troops be in harm's way. There's 4,000 more troops in America right now that are ready to be deployed should they be needed. And if he sends those troops over there and there's going to be any kind of a gunfight, I promise you it's going to be fast and it's going to be ugly and it's going to be bloody.